What's up, y'all? If you remember yesterday, we created a Kanban board in GitHub. And today we're just going to try to knock out 1 or 2 tickets. 3 tickets that I would love to get to would be change the layout, make sure that it's a 2-stem layout. So we have drums on one side and higher tones on the other. Next, I'd like to style the notes, make them a little bit bigger, maybe add some 3D shadows, and just to give them a little bit realistic feel instead of just squares on the page. Lastly, I'd like to transform the notes as if they were falling out of the sky. So make them smaller, like objects in the distance, make them smaller and come out to the edges of the screen. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what we can get done. So we've got the game pulled up now, and the first thing that we're going to try to figure out is the 2-stem layout. And what I mean by that, if you click play, pick a genre, then you grab a song here. You can see right now it's coming down as 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 columns, essentially 5 columns that are coming down. See, there's the 5th one. I knew there was 5. And so what we want to do is just to bring that down to two columns, 2 notes coming down. So where this is located, if we go into the game object, you can see here on line 26. That's better. All right, so you can see we're adding the obstacle manager to the game. And so what that does is just creates an instance of the obstacle manager. So currently it's taking in beats and it's taking in the tempo. And so if we just go to that obstacle manager, you see it gets created. It creates an obstacle speed based off of the beats per minute. So we're looking for where it's creating this live 5-stem layout. So we look up here, we've got a variable named lanes, and right now it's 5. So we change that to 2. And then let's look for where lanes are. Okay, so the width of it is going to change. So it looks right. So now it looks like a 2-lane layout. But if you keep looking, the position here on line 26 takes the width of one of the obstacles and multiplies it by a random integer between 0 and 5. And so what that's doing is moving it over, right? So if it's 1, it'll show up here. If it's 2, it'll show up here. If it's 3, it'll show up here. So I think what we technically have are beats that aren't showing up. So I'll change this to, just to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. If we change it to lanes, now we look over and we can see a lot more beats coming in, and you can see they're coming in the right order, right? So it looks better. Yeah, some of the obstacles were being created off of the screen. And I think that's all we got to do. We can go ahead and check that card off. We move it to done. I completely decided to just scrap trying to paint the notes using code in Dart. The custom painters were really cool. It was really fun to work with, but it's just going to take a long time. I have 0 experience in Flutter. I've built like one other app in it, and I'm really trying to just go ahead and knock this game out. What I've decided to do is to go over into Paint and just go ahead and fix up some note real quick. We're gonna load it up as a sprite and scale it and everything that way. And that'll give us something to work with, and we can work with sprites really easily in Flame, and that'll keep us moving. We're just gonna go ahead and restart. Just go ahead and pull it back to the 2-stem layout and go ahead and throw this in here. So let's see what that looks like. All right. So after some technical difficulties last night, my recording software didn't work. I was able to get it working this morning. We're gonna check out the sprite layout now, or the sprite rendering. So let's just go ahead and get started there. We'll load it up. I've got this blank Flame game that we're gonna work with. I went ahead and noted the original size of the sprite so we can just keep the proportions the same. First part, we'll have to await, because it's an asynchronous load, sprite.load, and then you just need the source. So the source here is, great. Now if we do a Flutter hot restart, we'll see that nothing happens. Streambeats, oops, we get an error. So we erase that and restart it. Nothing happens because we haven't actually added the sprite to the canvas. We've just pulled it out of our assets. So let's go ahead and we'll say the note is the component, right? And so sprite component, and if we look at this, it takes a sprite. So we'll just give it the sprite, and it also takes a size. Vector2, and let's just give it the same dimensions as the original PNG. And last thing we have to do is add it to the canvas. Now if we save and restart Flutter, boom, now we've got our sprite displayed on the screen. So let's go ahead and say that we're going to start, because we're going to eventually move this sprite. So let's say our start position is, and that's going to be a vector, a 2D vector, vector2, let's say canvas size x by 2. So we'll grab halfway. And for now, let's just go ahead and grab the y value as well, and we'll put it directly in the center of the screen. I'm going to use the little double dot notation in Flutter. I'm not really sure what it's called. If you know what it is, put it down in the comments so I'll know for the future. Like I said, I just started Flutter. I've had a lot of fun using Flutter and Dart. Hopefully I can keep building games and mobile apps with it, and we'll see how that goes. So if I change the start position to start position, oh yeah, the double dot notation, for those who don't know about it, it is called on an object and then it returns that object. So it's a good way to initialize an object and then modify a property, and then it just returns back to the variable. So if we restart it, trigger, that doesn't look like it's in the center of the screen, and that's because the anchor is not in the center. So we can modify that as well. We'll just say anchor.center. Now if we hot reload, boom, our sprite is centered. It's the same proportions as the original PNG, and it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. It's okay. The awesome thing about using the sprite technique is that we can easily come in and modify what the note looks like just by switching out the picture. Like we could put a picture of Mickey Mouse there. Couldn't do that because of copyrights, but we could if we weren't selling the game or anything. I want to have the note come out of the sky. When like objects come out of the sky, or objects are like far away and coming close to you, like a car driving down the street, it looks really small when it's far away. And then as it gets closer to you, it gets bigger. So that's what we want to do with this. So let's change the initial size of the sprite. Let's cut that in half. So 60 and 85. Yep. And then down here, we're going to add a scale effect. And the scale effect is just a vector2. So it's how much to scale the x and how much to scale the y. And we're just going to do vector2.all. And we're just going to double the scale. Hi, Flutter restart. Ooh, we get an error. The scale effect has to take two arguments. It takes the scale, like how much you want to scale up the object, and also speed or duration. So I'm going to opt for duration here. So the duration, we're just going to do 2 seconds. I think that'll be good enough. So we restart, boom. So now it's smaller, like it's far away, and it's getting a little bit bigger. It doesn't quite look like something that's moving towards you through space, but we're going to add a little bit of movement as well. So it's going to come down from the bottom, and it's just going to get bigger as it goes down. And Flame gives us another effect for that. Yeah, Flame is a pretty awesome Flutter library, so you should check it out. So the move effect takes a path, and that path is just a list of vector2 objects. We just want it to go down one path, so we're just going to say canvas size x for the x, and let's say divided by 3, so it doesn't go all the way to the end, but it does move to the left a little bit from where it is now. And for the y, canvas size.y divided by, let's just do canvas size.y. Cool, boom. This effect takes duration as well, so let's just say duration 2 for now. There you go. And we can change the initial position, the start position here. And we'll start there, but we'll start at 0Y. 0Y is at the top. Boom. And let's do one more thing. We'll change this duration to a 3 so it takes longer to move than it does to scale. Restart. I like it. Cool. So let's go ahead and hop over to the actual game and see if we can get this to sync up with the notes and see what that looks like. So now we're back over to the Streambeats game, and we're just going to see what it turned out to be. We'll look up here. So the Streambeats game, we read in the data, we load in our sprite here in the game. And then what I've decided to do is to have two separate note managers. So you can see we have the drum manager and the other manager, and then those get added to the canvas here. They both take similar arguments. If we hover over the note manager here, we can see it takes beat per minute, the actual beat list, the starting position, the end position, and the sprite. And so the reason I decided to do it this way is just so it'd be a little bit easier to decide what the start and end position was for each note. We can manage the logic and everything for changing where the start and end position is, like outside of the manager itself. So yeah, just calculated things out. We've got these statics. The note manager start size and scale factor. Might end up moving that as a static variable on the note because it seems like it belongs there. But anyway, we go into the note manager, and you can see we just have spawn obstacle. So inside the spawn obstacle, I need to rename this. I'm gonna rename that real quick to spawn note. That's better. Yeah, so here what I've done is just take both the scale effect and move effect, get those set up, and I'm using duration again. So it's gonna take 3 seconds, 2 seconds to go from start to finish. Seems to work pretty well. Then we create the note here, and we're using combined effect, which is something we didn't talk about previously, but this just takes multiple effects and applies them all at the same time. And then we just grab the game reference and add the obstacle to the game. So let's hop up here and see what that looks like. So if we press play, choose a genre, and start, after a little bit of a delay, we'll start to see notes. Awesome. So look, I'm pretty happy with the result of how they came in. I might play around with Deezer's stem recognition software. It's just a little artificial intelligence. I'll drop a link for it down on the bottom. It just takes in a song and spits out when certain beats came in. So I might play with that a little bit more, but it looks pretty cool. It's a little offset. Yeah, they just fly in. They scale over a duration of 2 seconds. You can see that here. And it takes 3 seconds to go from the start position or the top to the bottom. Awesome. Thanks for checking out the video, checking out the progress for my Flutter game. Next up, we're gonna just take the pause ticket and we're gonna bring that in. We'll see if we can pause those effects and see how that works. Bye, y'all.